enjoy those activities by Moise. Next up, we have Heather Dawson, e-commerce marketing executive and product marketer, specializing in brand building and growth strategies for online businesses. She's going to be presenting on from browsing to buying using AI to personalize the journey. Hi, Heather. How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm Matt. Doing great. How are you?
I'm doing well. Really excited to have you on. Looking forward to your presentation.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you to the whole Cloudways team. So it's been just such a great event to be a part of. Hope you guys are all having a great time, learning a lot. I think there's a lot of themes here from what I've been seeing, and I'm excited to share a little bit about what I've come to know throughout my journey and some of the research that I've been doing here about e-commerce personalization. So let's dive in. So first, let's see if I can move these slides. There we go. Okay. So first, just a quick introduction. Who am I? Thank you for the intro, Matt. I am the founder of Perspective Growth Partners, and I help companies scale through smarter marketing strategy, stronger products, and exceptional customer experiences. I've spent the last 20 plus years at some of the world's largest brands, including the last 15 years at Amazon, which for most of you probably on this call, that's been a wild ride of growth in and of itself. I was first an operator, leading marketing teams, launching industry-defining products, and scaling multi-billion-dollar businesses. And then I was a trusted advisor to Amazon's most senior executives, directing strategic initiatives that influenced products, organizational strategies, and go-to-market strategies, and more. Excuse me, across Amazon's global ads and stores businesses. And this was all really working on behalf of small business customers, both advertisers and sellers on Amazon's platforms. So my experience really lies in aligning marketing strategy, product innovation, and customer experiences to drive sustainable growth, which I hope resonates with some of you. Okay, so diving right in. See if I can advance the slide here. There we go. I'm really excited to speak about this topic today because it's really one of the hottest topics in e-commerce. I know you can't really escape AI in the news these days, and personalization across the customer journey is just such a wealth of opportunities for customers, particularly small businesses today, I would say. And it's really been said many times now, and it's absolutely true. We're living through such a time of tremendous change in how we work and deliver for customers using this incredible tool that my aim is really to give you some ideas for how you can think about and maybe start implementing, if you haven't already, some AI tools across your customer journey to improve discovery, conversion, and retention. So as part of this today, we'll level set on some of the current AI capabilities, the benefits of AI-based personalization, evolving consumer expectations and behaviors. And I know you've touched on some of these already. Fatih spoke about them the other day. It's just, there's so much to know, but I'll touch on some of the big ones. And then some of the issues surrounding AI implementations, along with some implications to consider for your business. We'll dive into, excuse me, let me get my notes here. I'll share really a framework to inform your mental model for how you can use this powerful tool, and then some strategies and specific tools to explore. I know folks always want specific examples. There's so many, but I promise I'll give you some, but rather than answers, I'm really hoping to inspire you to ask great questions and answer them for yourself, your customers, and your business. And I think we all know, you've probably used some of these tools, even as just a consumer. It's really about asking questions and tuning your questions to get the most out of these tools. And so today, my hope is that you walk away with a more informed foundation for thinking about and using AI to personalize your customer's journey, and that you feel really inspired to continue to learn and develop your skills. This is just such an incredible time in history where marketing, technology, customer experience are converging in really exciting ways. So let's dive in. All right, so it's no secret that AI-enabled commerce is growing rapidly, and that's kind of a loaded term. Basically, it's where AI is assisting commerce. 8.65 billion this year, up to 64 billion by 2034. That's just a massive hockey stick, no matter how you look at it. And it's really touching every facet of e-commerce. The vast majority of companies out there are experimenting with or using AI and plan to increase their spending. So this really indicates a shift from not just testing, but and pilots, but really to full implementation. So if you're kind of starting your journey, you're not alone, dipping your toe in the water, but dive in, it's fine. I love this quote from Alan Watts, by the way. Got a little cut off there, but this is from like the 1970s, but still so relevant today, and really speaks to the mental model around change more than anything. And so, really, at the end of the day, why you should care, for your business. Personalization really powers profits. That's a lot of P's, I guess, but it's really about increased relevance, higher engagement, better conversion rates, and stronger customer loyalty. So we'll walk through some of those things today as we get in here, but really that's the foundation and the why. And moving on here, I can advance the slide. I'm having just a moment. There we go. So obviously it all starts with the customer. And I think what's really, really exciting about AI right now is that it's really helping us as marketers and leaders meet customers where they are. And that's kind of a phrase that's been said a lot, I would say, in the zeitgeist in the last few years, but it's just so true when it comes to the power of these tools. And consumers really expect that personalized experience. 73% expecting companies to understand their needs. It's no longer that you see an ad and you think it's creepy if it says your name, or if it has a product you just maybe shopped for. That's really expected by consumers today. So feel good that you're going in the right direction, I guess. And you as a consumer probably feel this way as well. I think one of the biggest and most interesting areas of this whole user journey, and we'll talk more about this in a few slides, is discovery. It's just really undergoing such a massive transformation. Nearly 60% of searches don't end in a click. This is wild. And I cited HubSpot here, but I think this has been in the news, lots of sources around this recently. So that means that consumers are purchasing faster. Not necessarily less considered, but they're finding the information they need, and it really helps accelerate their purchase decisions, 47% faster, according to one study done by Rep AI. So it just really is helping reduce some of that hesitation. It's shortening the product discovery phase and removing friction at checkout. So all this is great and pointing really in the same direction. To kind of level set, we've probably got a mixed audience in terms of how knowledgeable. So I want to just quickly kind of touch on what agentic AI is and how you can think about that as compared to maybe some of the other terms in AI, specifically generative AI. And generative AI is kind of, a couple of years ago, this was the biggest buzzword. That's really around creating new content. So whether that's text or images based on user input, that was really kind of the beginnings. Agentic AI is really independently thinking, planning, and acting by orchestrating multiple agents. And not to get too technical here, but it's using multiple AI models, going through sequences that use multiple LLMs as kind of that brain to interact with the tools and systems and really execute more complex real-time actions. And really kind of four main components of this. And again, this is a non-technical description here, so very high level, but it's really about making its own choices. So those autonomous decisions based on its understanding of the situation, rather than relying solely on kind of predefined rules or human input. It plans ahead and follows through. So it's anticipating those future scenarios, developing strategies, and executing them without the need for constant oversight or direction from humans. It adapts to what's happening, so it can dynamically adjust its behavior and decision-making based on the changing circumstances, allowing it to respond effectively to evolving situations. And then really it works towards those goals without constant direction, working independently to set and pursue its own objectives, taking the initiative to achieve the desired outcomes without requiring human intervention. And so what that really all adds up to is just really exciting possibilities across this entire space for both data-driven decision-making and the customer experience. So all that sounds amazing, and it is, but it's not perfect yet, and it's not the proverbial silver bullet here. While AI really kind of promises a lot of things, there are some things that are more the reality right now that I think just need to sort of be said and level set. One-to-one marketing at scale is obviously kind of the big promise, right? So being able to treat every customer at every stage of the funnel in a unique way. Heather, I saw you browse these shoes. I think you should come back and buy them, that sort of thing. It's not a replacement and probably will never be a replacement, frankly, for an ideal customer profile that really taps into all of the insights of your customer and rounds out that persona. And cohorts. Cohorts are, we'll talk about this in another slide or two, but cohorts are becoming so important for how you show up in agentic search that it's something that you really should continue to pay attention to. So this is an and not an or, basically, as you're thinking about your customer. It's not hands off the wheel yet. There are parts that claim to be, but it's really kind of a partner and not a replacement. And I think really underscoring this is like, it's not a replacement for human creativity, passion, critical thinking, oversight. These are things that are inherently human and are not going away anytime soon. In fact, a lot of people say they'll never go away. The future is yet to be written here, but definitely a partner. And then finally, this democratization of data and information. And we're all just inundated with so much data and information every day. And the entire, kind of world of data that's available on an enterprise scale has been massive. Big data. I kind of laughed with my husband the other day. Machine learning was a thing at Amazon 20 years ago. So it's been around, it's been kind of actively in the space, but it's really becoming accessible, and that's pretty exciting. However, and this is a big however, and it will always be forever and always true, your outputs are really still only as good as your inputs. So making sure that you have clean, structured, labeled data that's going into these models and that you're using is just so important to getting the results that you want. And just kind of another maybe personal anecdote here. My last job at Amazon, I mentioned I was advising senior leaders. And of course, our role was really to gather data, talk with customers, evaluate solutions. But what did they really want from us? They wanted the critical thinking, the perspective, the so what now? And so that's just a very human way of thinking about kind of amassing all of these inputs and really thinking about what does that mean for your business. And I would argue this type of critical thinking is just really not going to come from machines and from a chatbot. Those are partners to help you in your critical thinking, but the innovation, the risk taking, the looking around corners, that's what humans are good at. And I would encourage you to think of AI as an extension of you and your team. AI is a tool that you need to learn how to use, just like you needed to learn how to drive a car back in the days of horse and buggy when the car was invented. You got to learn to drive, but it's a tool, and it's a very powerful tool. Okay. So like most changes, and this is a really big one that we're living through, pretty exciting, but also not without its challenges. It's kind of lumpy. I think hopefully this resonates with some of you guys who have tried these tools maybe in the past, but there are some real challenges here. And I think it's important to think about these challenges and really make sure that you are thinking about your organization and how you're approaching this in light of these challenges. Small and medium-sized businesses classically spent a lot of my career studying SMBs at this point. Limited bandwidth constantly comes up, often wearing many hats, lacking time and resources. This is a real thing. And I think it really, despite good intentions, can maybe be a hurdle for a lot of companies. Maybe previous attempts at using some of these tools fell short and people are feeling skeptical or hesitant to invest further. That's real. That is definitely true. Marketers today and businesses generally, business leaders, incredible pressure to deliver ROI. And the good news is, the promise of AI is that you will find more ROI. But really this idea that you need to deliver today is a lot of pressure and maybe causes people not to spend some time diving in where they could. And then finally, foundational tech or data issues. So data organization and access, fragmented data sources, poor organization can really hinder effective implementation of some of these tools. So something to really, again, I'll hit on this multiple times here today, but really those fundamentals are very, very important. And then the slide got a little munged, but really kind of personal hurdles, I would say, are something that you really can't ignore either. And this is, for leaders of teams and maybe for yourself as well, feeling a little uncertain, negative, feeling maybe worried about job security, behind, not sure where to start. feelings of inertia. So I love this image of this cat. He's feeling very sluggish. But, kind of a light way to say, like, these are real feelings your employees might be feeling, you might be feeling, and it's okay. And we're all learning together. This is just, you got to go into the learning pit and accept that you're going to come out the other side better, but it is a challenge sometimes. And so overcoming these challenges, I argue, really requires a strategic approach, and that's what we'll go through next, that balances kind of the potential and what's possible with some of these practical realities and limited resources. The great news is the tools are getting better, and they're getting better all the time. And this is such an incredible time of year to be thinking about how do you leverage one of the highest volumes to start thinking of things that you have, maybe only dreamed of, but can you test small and on a large scale because of the time period quickly to get some data and inform your strategy going into next year? And I see the comment from Curtis there, solopreneur. I understand. It's real. So let's dive into building a strategy. So this is a really simple slide. Don't confuse simple with easy. Never do that. Building the right strategy. How do you kind of come up with the right mix, stitch together the right mix of solutions, I would say. And when you think about these solutions, you can kind of think about them in a range, right? From there's in-tool solutions. Maybe you're using tools today that have launched AI capabilities. That's fantastic. Start there. And I think that's where a lot of small businesses have started, just according to some of the data I've been seeing. Makes sense. And then there's, full kind of custom implementations that leverage your data with open source models, or maybe there are fully private models and everything in between. And so I'm going to go through, again, some of the questions and then maybe some examples. I've focused more on the D2C and a little bit of the marketplace experiences, but this is just such a wide range of solutions right now. I think I actually just saw another solution yesterday that was pretty exciting, got a $25 million seed round. This is, it's pretty hard to even map kind of all the solutions right now based on what's out there. So this is not an exhaustive list or, all the answers, as I mentioned. This is a starting place and maybe give you some ideas. But what I would say is, I'd be remiss spending so much time at Amazon not to say start with the customer. That's probably pretty obvious, but so important. So what are your customers' problems? What are they trying to do, and how can you solve those problems? Getting really, really crisp on that is the foundation and is the starting place. And if you do that well, that's everything else kind of follows. Considering the full journey, of course, across that customer journey, but really thinking about where you can prioritize the largest areas of opportunity for your customers and your business. Maybe you have a large repeat customer base. I worked with a customer that had 40% repeat customers, but they didn't know who their highest value customers were, and they weren't doing anything to really stimulate that. That's a very basic example, but they're analyzing and thinking about your customer needs, and then really thinking about how can you address that as a business and where your pain points layered together is the way to go. And then thinking about AI again as a tool to deliver on your promise. And like I said, this sounds really simple. The flip side of this is really like, oh, there's a shiny new tool. I want to go use that. That sounds really cool and exciting. Well, yes, stay curious and stay excited about the space. Really, how does that fit in your strategy? Is that solving a customer problem that's worth solving for your business? So just really kind of coming back to this as a touchstone. So where can AI help? So this is not the journey map. This is really a diagram to kind of lay out some of the areas where AI is pushing into, and it's most areas in e-commerce right now, as I mentioned. Some of these here, there's probably more that aren't on here. I'll just say that. AI really enhances e-commerce personalization by using machine learning to analyze real-time customer data for tailored product recommendations, content, improved support through AI-powered chatbots and experiences, and more, right? So you can see, and I'm sure you guys all have other examples that you've thought of for your business. This is by no means exhaustive, but kind of key applications right now include recommendation engines, predictive analytics for anticipating those needs and where, layering in more kind of effort might yield better results. Anticipating customer needs kind of more holistically, smart search functions that understand intent, visual search is layered into that, which is a really exciting area. I'll plug Amazon here one more time, but Amazon's been using this. I use it all the time. Google has a great solution for this as well, just for searches. So that's just becoming more and more available to small businesses and medium-sized businesses use cases. Personalized content and marketing, of course. I think this is the one I just naturally think of first, really that kind of one-to-one experience versus that broad targeting. Chatbots, maybe one that you've experienced or that you've implemented in your own business. This is where I think a lot of companies started, is really trying to shore up their support or use solutions that would shore up that support. Available 24/7, such a big game changer, and meeting again customers where they expect to be met with answers. And then finally, I mentioned this one on here. I don't go into it in depth further beyond here. And I would say, be careful. It's just the pricing. So dynamic pricing, it's been in the news recently, some really large CPG companies and not so nice of a light. And I would say in probably a customer trust eroding way, have been dynamically adjusting prices. Customers don't like that very much if it's fully transparent. So I would say be careful if you go down this road, but AI can really analyze market data, customer behavior, and then adjust those prices dynamically, which can help optimize your revenue and profits, which is obviously very important. If your company's not in business, you can't help your customers. Is kind of the bottom line there. So thinking about all of these areas, I really wanted to kind of simplify this a bit. That's a very big, wide range of things. How do you find those high impact use cases? And really kind of the world of possibilities broken down into 3 stages is kind of how I've structured the rest of this: discovery, conversion, and retention and loyalty. So every business's growth path is going to be unique. Again, my challenge to you is to think critically about your business. What are your customers' biggest issues? What repetitive processes exist in your business that can be automated? And really start there and build the muscle required to adopt AI solutions across the full journey. You don't have to do it all at once. Just start. Kind of one of the key messages here. So the following slides have a few guided prompts just in terms of questions, and then some ideas in terms of strategies and maybe implementation that you can consider. And then after that, I will go through some specific examples for each of these journey stages that I personally like. So diving in here to discovery. So some questions you can think about. We talked earlier about changing consumer behavior when it comes to product discovery. And while full shopping agents are definitely emerging, we saw on Tuesday with Shopify's announcement that Agentic generative engine answer that's rapidly replacing traditional search. So really kind of thinking about how can you use the data that you have to develop segments, cohorts, and then use that to feed your content engine for these agentic experiences. So again, AGO, GEO are kind of some of the acronyms being used right now. But basically, the answer that's popping up in ChatGPT and the others when a customer asks a question. So what questions are being asked? And I could spend a whole session talking about this. And I will also say, anyone who says that they know exactly how this works, you should be very suspicious of, because it's evolving very rapidly. There's a lot of black box sort of inputs and I don't want to use the word manipulation, but calculations maybe behind the scenes in terms of what is actually being shown there and how it's being crawled. It's growing. It's a new space. The good news is it seems that kind of the basics of SEO kind of still apply here, but really the implementation or the execution is a little bit tweaked. And so the real point here is just thinking about your audience and what do you know, and then using that as the input into some of these newer experiences and your content. So all of these experiences, all of this data, this is a gold mine really to make both those one-on-one interactions and your segmentation better. I would also encourage you, if you haven't already, to dive into how is your brand showing up in the conversation. So in AEO, GEO, in search, in your product titles and descriptions, this is probably already a part of the things that you're doing to optimize your listings if you work on platforms like Amazon and Walmart. But really those are kind of inputs you can be using to feed into some of these engines to tailor and target by intent. So it's just a super powerful way to gather customer intent and feedback. And then this is probably pretty obvious and very simple, maybe, maybe not in execution again, but is your message personalized? How much of your outbound, across your paid and your own channels or maybe email, etc., is personalized? Maybe that's a place to start. I think one of the most exciting things of recent years is that there are some AI-based solutions offered by pretty much all of the major ad players out there, Google, Meta, TikTok, and Amazon being some of them, offering some pretty cool things that are AI optimized. Now they have their downsides each, but they can be a huge time saver. I'll cover a couple of them in a few slides, but I think this is a pretty exciting place to look as a small business. And kind of last but not least here, what is your test budget? I think a lot of times companies are like, oh yeah, we're kind of testing some things. Is it off the side of your desk or is it really a structured test plan? 10 to 20% is kind of that best practice range. And you should be thinking about this in terms of time and money. So do you have a structured test plan? Are you carving out this room for experimentation? I actually hired a woman at my last company who this was really her job at a small business. I thought that was pretty unique, but so important. And I just can't really underscore enough. This really has to become a part of the rhythm of your business. All right, moving on to conversion. So similar to discovery, I've talked a lot about the data. Personalization with AI can really boost conversion, and this is across kind of most touch points. I'll hit on a couple of solutions in a little bit here that are really looking at the full journey, which is pretty exciting. So it's not just like conversion on your web page, your product detail page to cart, but really thinking about how are you amplifying all of those conversions with real-time data analytics and decision making that agentic AI allows. So starting with your data and analytics, getting really curious. And this is, again, an area where AI can really accelerate and amplify your capabilities as a small team. It's really democratizing some of those kind of deeper analytics that only large companies had at their disposal in the past. I think this is really always so interesting, but some of the most basic low-hanging fruit, and honestly, this was an area where we brought some ideas to Amazon to implement on behalf of customers, but abandoned cart. So it was something that the ads team actually wasn't allowing anyone to target customers who had abandoned cart for the longest time. And it's just such a great way to follow up and gain additional conversions with your consumers who maybe just forgot. I mean, frankly, we're all so busy. I think this is a lot of times just such a helpful and easy way. If you do one thing, set up an abandoned cart flow, and that can be done with SMS or email. And then similar to discovery, again, what do you know about your customers that can feed a more personalized content experience? So is it a low funnel page on your website? Is it, something that, you have a great bundle offer, etc. These are great ways for cross-sell, upsell, lots of different strategies that you have around holidays. All of these are things that can feed into personalized content and offers to drive better conversion. And then, of course, the action items are sort of tools, strategies and tools, I called it, but data, audit for outdated data, inconsistent data, structure and label data, just so important. I think a lot of times, businesses as they're growing and just trying to move really fast, this is an area that becomes a really big debt in the future. So thinking about that as you're kind of scaling is just important. And then finally, last but certainly not least, I think this is probably one of the most exciting spaces. I'm not a kind of like retention and loyalty expert. And so maybe that's why this is so exciting, is that there really is just such a democratization of these tools. And I think this is for a small business use case. Most of you guys, I would say, are probably generalists. You have a lot of things on your plate. This can really simplify what is pretty sophisticated marketing at the end of the day. Large teams at enterprises handle this type of work in my experience. And you can get access to it with very slick and easy to use tools now that leverage AI. So the goal here is really improving customer retention and loyalty, of course, but that incorporates things like satisfaction, support, repeat customer purchase, recommendation, and other social proof. And this is one of the largest levers to improve your lifetime value to customer acquisition cost ratio. And if you're like, what is that? It's just going to reduce your cost to acquire customers at the end of the day. You don't have to acquire as many. You'll probably still want to acquire some, but retaining them is a lot better, a lot less costly. So, who are your highest value customers? Do you know who they are? Are you using targeted campaigns and content? Do you have a loyalty program? These are things that AI can now help you do. You want to feed those owned and operated communities and loyalty programs, and consider the short and long-term priorities. So these are strategic, large initiatives that might take months, right? So start small, don't try to do everything at once, and really take advantage of that holiday volume to experiment, learn, and adjust. And so I know we're running a little short on time, so I did want to share a few of the solutions that I think are really interesting. And these are kind of more of that mid-market. So I know we've probably got a range of folks on this call that, maybe it's micro businesses, maybe it's kind of that mid to upper range in the medium-sized business, but a lot of these can be scaled up and down. The first, I would be remiss kind of not to talk about Amazon. And by the way, a lot of these are, without oversimplifying, I'm probably leaving out great solutions for any individual category or use case. There's probably a lot of other things out there, but these are the ones that I've seen and I think are pretty cool. So Amazon Creative Studio, this one is near and dear to my heart. We worked on this with the business team that launched it. It just got announced last month at Amazon Accelerate at the Selling Partner Conference, and it's in beta, so very new. This is a game changer if you use Amazon ads and struggle with keeping up with creative, or if you're spending a lot on agencies. I know maybe there are some agency folks in the audience here too, but this can help you too, would be my plug here. This is really a simplified tool to create both display and video content, really from a single product image or from your website. So kind of a big step forward, consistently in all of the work we did around kind of ads. Creative and kind of generating ROI were the two, king and queen problems. So constantly really trying to help businesses with this. I think this is a huge step forward. The other solutions here are Performance Max and Advantage Plus. These are what I was mentioning before, those AI-based solutions. Performance Max is one all-in-one goal-based campaign you can set up. If you haven't tried it, it's pretty cool. It's got 7 ad formats based on one kind of set of creative solution or creative assets. And you can run those ads across search, YouTube, Gmail, display, across all of Google's network. The promise is, hands off. I already cautioned you on hands off the wheel. So it's a hands off the wheel, trust but verify situation. But they do promise higher conversion ROAS, return on ad spend. And they're using AI for bidding, budget allocation, creative, cross-channel placements, et cetera. So that's pretty cool. Meta has a very similar product. I'm not going to dive too deep into that one, just in the interest of time, but it's really kind of that automated audience targeting, creative testing, budget allocation, similar to Performance Max. On the conversion front, I think this just ramps up in interesting, as I've mentioned, kind of as you go from the ad space into some of the more website-based experiences and checkout-based experiences. But Format is one that has been coming up. It's really kind of a unique solution. I haven't seen anything quite like it. It offers full funnel customization. So that's everything from an ad click to a product detail page, to a bundle, to offers and carts even. And you can generate and test and refine different experiences without dev work or touching your main site. So I think that's kind of a game changer, for folks who have dev teams who are equally strapped. This potentially offers a way to level up into some more sophisticated funnels. So that's pretty cool. Microsoft Clarity Copilot. This is a free tool. So for those very small businesses out there, some really cool analytics here. And this is something I would say, can't hurt to check out, probably just some of your time here, of course. This doesn't cost any money, but very cool to see some predictive heat maps, forecasting click patterns, things like that. Shopify Magic, another Shopify solution. You've probably seen this. It's getting better and better from what we've seen in my testing. One of the coolest new things it can do is convert chats to checkout. So something that you might want to check out, no pun intended there. And then lastly on loyalty, again, probably the coolest space because it just takes so much data and so much information and makes it so accessible. Attentive. This is an SMS first solution. And so if you don't have an SMS program or you're curious, it might be a nice layer on to some of the things that you're doing. really slick segmentation, purchase prediction algorithms. I think I'm getting yanked off the stage. Thank you, Matt. Klaviyo and Retention X. Those are my final recos. So I could talk for hours on this topic, clearly. Thank you so much for having me. I wanted to kind of just say, in closing, kind of 4 thoughts. Just get in there, experiment and learn fast. Don't lose sight of your fundamentals and get distracted by shiny objects. And humans, we're still important.
No, Heather, thank you so much. Yeah, we do not have the Oscar music here to play, but no, this is fantastic, and we have so many questions that have come through in the Q&A. We unfortunately don't have time for them right now, but we do just want to ask, as some closing remarks, what are your thoughts about Prepathon, and your experience as a guest speaker with us today?
Yeah, thank you. Well, this has been a lot of fun. I have to say, I spent the last 15 years writing chock-a-block documents, which probably comes through in presentations. So it's just been really fun to get out and share kind of the work that we're doing at Perspective Growth Partners with you guys. This is such a great way for us to kind of come together ahead of such a huge holiday time period, right? And you've got everyone here has a time period of rapid experimentation at their fingertips because of the volume that's likely to come through. So just really use this as an opportunity and get excited, get curious. And I think it's just, the tip of the iceberg in terms of what these solutions can do. So hopefully you're inspired to walk away and begin testing.
Well, Heather, thank you. We really appreciate you coming. Thank you so much. Really enjoyed having you here today with us.
Thank you.
All right. So next up, we have Moise back again for 2 Truths and a Lie, the e-commerce edition. Very excited to see what he has in store for us. Thank you so much. And we'll be back in a couple minutes.